All right, welcome everybody to another great episode of Framing New Heights. My name is Michael Hicks. I'm your host with the most. And besides having a hoodie on, if you're not getting the visual here or checking out my YouTube page, I've got a hoodie on. I've got a little bit of a cold sinus thing going on, so I apologize ahead of time of the nasally voice. But I'm gonna do my very best. I want to talk a little bit today about joy. How do we uncover joy? How do we get joy in our life? That's part of my Live to Thrive programming. However, before I do that, I'd like to say a word from our sponsors. Can't sleep, got the aches and pains. You got to check out the CBD oil. It is Amish tested. It's the proven formula to get rid of those aches and those pains. And if you truly want to get some good quality sleep, you can get advantage and take advantage of the promo code, which is New Heights. You just go to checkout, which is envitamins.com, and you could take that CBD oil, put it in the checkout, put in all caps, New Heights. You will sleep better. You will feel better. You'll be more revitalized. Obviously, as we age, our sleeping patterns tend to get thrown off. That's a good product, and I promise it works. Just give it a whirl. Let me know how you think. Drop it in the comments or email me as well. Live to thrive. Live your best purposeful life. Why are you struggling? Why are you unhappy? Why is your career faulty? Why are your relationships struggling? Well, my Live to Thrive agency, I can help you in all areas of your life, whether that's your mindset, your body transformation, or discovering your walk and your spirituality purpose. I've helped now thousands of people like yourself really become the best versions of themselves. And I do this by an articulate, proven framework that works for everyone. And it fits everybody's needs. It's framed around your needs and wants. So stop wasting your valuable time of life. If you want some change, maybe in your relationship, maybe with yourself, or maybe even your career, now's the time. Now's the moment. You can go directly to my website, which is www.liv, the number two, thrive.com. You can apply there to get on my schedule. And that is a journey call that is absolutely free. Normally it costs $250, but I allow you to apply and let's talk. Let's learn a little bit more about your story. Excuse me. So I will probably be doing a little bit of that during the podcast today, and I apologize ahead of time. So I will do my very best not to do that into the microphone. Let's talk about joy. Where is your happiness? Like, where is it? Is it deep down inside? Here's the thing, your surroundings really shape your personality. Your environment shapes your personality. So it doesn't mean like you need to understand these things, but we absorb information consciously, subconsciously, I should say. And then what happens is your brain processes everything and then decides whether to leave some things unnoticed, like the bad weather or something. Maybe the bad weather spoils your mood. I don't know why. I constantly run into that conversation in the gym continuously. It's like, oh, it's Monday or it's the weather, it's raining. And it's like, that's where, yes, if you don't know how to control your subconscious, that's going to affect you. And, gloomy days dissolve that internal joy that really helps you get through the day. And here's the thing. Every one of us is born with the capacity of joy. Every single one of us. Now, there are some controls, though, that switch these. There's an actual study that was out there that talks about the aesthetics of joy. And these aesthetics of joy are energy, freedom, and a spiritual life. And don't I'm gonna get to all of them. I'm gonna break them down. And a lot of what I teach with my programming at Live to Thrive has to do a lot with that. Now I know modern life has a pace, right? That dictates our rhythm. Okay. However, we dictate the joy to our day. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Think about joy generators. Okay. So stick with me here. Joy generators kind of light up our moods, right? They influence our environment. You know, some may be obvious, like childish, maybe even ridiculous and not appealing. However, every one of them has an integral part of our true happiness. So it's really up to you to find what ignites you. And today on this podcast, we're going to do it together. How does that sound? Should we dive in a little bit? All right, let's go. So I want to talk this piece right here is the joyful batteries. All right. We often link our happiness to material objects. It's the car I drive, the clothes I wear, the new brand of sneakers, the new J-Bones. However, if you notice the power of this aesthetic pleasure, I'm going to really break down how it kind of will change your perspective, okay? I have two things that I want to kind of break down. Revigorating colors. All right, that's the first one. And then feeding the senses. That's the second one. I want to go into energy for a second. So think of energy. When was the last time that you truly had joy? You had joy in your heart. You got excited. You're happy. You're joyful. Like your whole body was filled with this energy, almost rushed up to your bloodstream, and you almost like want to hug it, right? And you want to hug yourself, you want to hug the world, you just hug everybody because you just love everybody. Now, this logic of happiness kind of equals energy and vice versa. It turns out that our energy can be found in colors and particular light patterns. Now, our ability to see and distinguish different shades and hues enable our ancestors to differentiate ripe fruits, which is crazy. And this then creates a strong genetic link between satisfying our hunger and then that joy afterwards. And then as a result, we associate bright and healthy colors with life and a sense of satisfaction. And then when we use the skill to find and incorporate those colors, guess what? Goes back to the word that I used earlier when I just described this. It makes us feel more revitalized and happy. Color, yes, color generates joy. Now, however, is there a color without light? That's the bold question that I want to ask my listeners. Because if you consider the ladder of colors power cell, think of it as a source of joy for a second, okay? A sunrise is the beam of light between gray clouds or even reflection from a stained glass. It gives you an immense spirit boost, like you're excited. Now, the end objective of the energy is aesthetic, is to maximizing the number of these vibrations. All right. The tiny particles given in a particular area. And then you can apply these elements to make your apartment, your house, your workplace, wherever you're at, more energy giving. Does that make sense? Because when you add bold colors and consider the lighting, the most extensive zones, walls, furniture, floors, and so on will make you feel more revitalized and happy. This next piece, abundance. This is big, big. Practice abundance daily. Now, what do you usually think of when you see or hear the word abundance? What do you think of? In most cases, you may imagine physical objects with a particular use, right? However, abundance, okay, can be described as sensory fulfillment. You with me so far? Think of it, think of it as a cake which has a bunch of layers to it. And the result in one magnificent structure, instead of batter and filling, it consists of the following: color, pattern, and texture, right? Energy can grow on trees. If autumn is your favorite season, which is very short here in Wisconsin, you're simply going to observe those vibrant colors more often. I know I have significantly. And there are many examples of abundance, y'all. So you can think of candy stores, right? Rainbows, confetti. These are just a few that you can name. Each represent a specific element multiplied several times. Candy stores. What do they do? We just recently went to, I think it's called Amy's Apples in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. No affiliation whatsoever. However, the kids that were with us, I wanted to taste a caramel apple because their caramel apples are unbelievable. But when you walked in, it was the smell, right? The smell was joyful. And when you take a bite of their apple, it's pretty awesome. The other thing is rainbows. Rainbows show various hues combined. And then the confetti part, the confetti magnifies a number of colors to the max. Now, all of them really satisfy that sensory hunger, right? And if it's left unattended, you're going to seek comfort in other spheres. And those spheres could be in like binge eating, right? Like how dialed in are you on your diet? And it's a sad moment when majority of people that are around you have no self-discipline. I'm going a little off sidetrack on the joy, but it's really I look at if you're a person of that's on a journey, congratulations. If you're on your growth journey, your transformation journey, and you're losing and I'm proud of you for that. However, if you're doing nothing to change that, your joy is going to be lacking. I want to go back to the mother nature piece, okay? Humans will always stay a part of nature. Here's what I mean. They'll always need to fill a fundamental part of our particular selves. Like it could be freedom, it could be harmony, and you can reach these simply every day by doing the following. Do you make time for nature? There's an exercise that I do with my clients. It's called an awe walk. Do you take your phone, leave your phone at home, but just go and appreciate every little thing that you see along the way? The second one is entertaining yourself with serendipity. Yeah, that's a big piece. And the other thing that I want to talk about is freedom. This podcast is being obviously recorded in the United States of America, and the United States of America always has this slogan of freedom and all of that. Everyone values freedom, even if you cannot feel it with the primary senses. Freedom is really tied into with joy, y'all, because it has abundance, and you can really blame it on our ancestors, because early humans chose to eat greens and fruitful areas to survive so that they could have room to be free and hunt. Oh, excuse me. Apologize here. Now, this evolution comes from 1,000 years ago. So look at the building, look at any building for an example, and ask its inhabitants if they like their window view, right? Listen to me on this one. You'll get more positive answers from those facing a green scenery, right? Or maybe an oceanic view. The same is true for people who have home plants or gardens, right? Their daily routine intertwines with an outdoor element. And earthing is a big process too. If that's a whole new different podcast, earthing is vital too for who we are. This result gives us a closer connection to the wild feed that we have inside of us and the freedom that we really want. Now, finding balance and going with the flow can be as joyful as persevering towards your actual goal. The next piece I want to illuminate here is harmony. Each coin has two sides. If one is freedom and the other is harmony, just as much as we like to perceive things in their most natural state, our brains find pleasure in finding symmetry, not so much obnoxious patterns, however, the correct flow. Like, let's take a look for an example of your room. You'll see things in your room that are shared features, maybe color, size, or shape. I'm looking right across where I've got my Live to Thrive logo, my Framing New Heights podcast logo. And when you may arrange a pile of books in one color, it creates a new sense, a new hue experience, right? Or the decluttering piece. Like symmetry really appeals to that inner feeling of what we call balance in our life. And one quick glimpse at an object is enough to decide whether it's symmetrical, right? Even from your clothes on how you hang them inside of your closet. And the conscientious mind is not usually aware of this. But however, most of the time, it's the work of the subconscious or intuition. Patterns are always popular as a decoration. They just are. However, they often incorporate like special meaning to them. And you may not understand a particular design. However, you're still going to maybe find joy out of it, like a joyful moment. Think about this the next time you zone out on a bizarre particular pattern, because you're going to realize that. I want to talk about this. I want you to entertain your inner child. Like, stick with me here. This part is really important to joy. You may grow up, and those of you are probably in your midlife area, because I've been looking at my audience, and you go to, let's say you go to a bar on a Friday evening for some entertainment, and you can't call yourself an adult, because if you do, there's no quirky child inside you that can compare yourself against anything. You must become your own fun parent if you seek daily happiness. So you got to laugh at yourself. In other words, you got to laugh at yourself. You're going to go out and maybe you just be funny. Be that inner child, because the best way to do that is turning a routine in into an actual playground. Yeah. Like how fun is that? I play like a game. I played a game with my daughter like when we go to the grocery store, because she doesn't like going to the grocery store. So I will like, okay, how quick will it take us? And she'll give me a number and I'll give her a number. And then we see if we can beat that number. And then get used to surprises. Like getting used to surprises is so important. And here's the other thing. Adults, you gotta play. You gotta play. When was the last time you played? Like, ask yourself, when was the last time I played? Because time doesn't exist. The only business to exist is playing as much as you can physically do. And don't give me an excuse that you cannot play. Because when you truly grow up and you become an adult, it's hard to find that inner child. It's hard to find time to play because we feel that there are more important things in our life. And the problem is that hidden child inside of you, it never disappears. It just waits to indulge in some type of play that you've done or you're used to. Now, when you can activate your desire to play, you're going to find out the human factors. You're going to find out that you're going to smile more. You're going to give a friendly gesture. You're going to want to join some kind of team. And that is absolutely vital, because all of those things shape the signal to your brain that those are not dangerous kind of ideals. The logic applies to everything similar, and we can use it to reform our living spaces, our experiences, and there's no need to impose significant changes. So do something small. Maybe buy a pothole or Paint a wall with curves and circles, or find something round that you can fidget on your desk. Just play for a second. Play with your kids. When you go to a trampoline park, are you sitting there eating the junk food or are you engaging in playing? I struggled with that when I saw that, when I see parents that just don't do anything. I want to talk about surprise. Routines, y'all, they can be dangerous and they tend to suck all the joy from life. So stop a routine. Sometimes you just got to stop a routine. And it seems like it's like not a big deal. However, it can be because without a routine, like when surprises happen when you are not in a routine. And they even sometimes happen when you're in a routine. However, I want you to think about shaking the mundane flow. Maybe you go a certain way to work, maybe take a different way one time, or go around the block a different way. Because surprise is a powerful lens that enhances life's little joys. And don't be afraid of surprises. Surprises are a beautiful thing. In fact, my girlfriend and I, one of our goals was to surprise each other on a date. That was fun. That was fun. We got to go back to doing that. We did that for 1 month or 2 months actually. I surprised her one time, she surprised me for another time. Now, the essence of surprises lies in the contrast, right? The bigger the difference to the present situation, the bigger the surprises. And this doesn't necessarily mean that surprises itself should be enormous. However, it can be something simple. It can be something small, such as I love you sticky note that you found maybe in a car, or something that you hid to reveal a concept when maybe opening up a present, because that brings out joy, that brings out playfulness. And you can make presents not just for loved ones. However, you can make a present for your future self. Have you ever done that? That's a really fun activity that you do. You just leave something memorable, like maybe a movie ticket, or maybe a favorite winter jacket, or maybe it's just a warm flashback when you put into the next season. Last night, I was a consumer of social media. I tend to be a content creator, but I am a consumer. But I went back to the 80s, the songs, and I reflected, and it was just a beautiful joy to really embrace and love. It was such a beautiful moment in my life and really created who I am today. Here's another way to find joy in your life. See the world from a new angle. Stop watching news. Stop hating if you are in the United States. Stop hating the president. Here, it's challenging. However, it can help you. And it puts it less literally because you can for a second. I want you to think about this. Think about no worries. Think about learning can be less serious. And when learning can be set less serious, think about this. Think about living in a tree. Maybe you can go on Airbnb. They've got these cool ideas to live in a tree. Maybe you do that. Maybe when you see a rainbow, you fall in love with that rainbow. Or maybe challenge a perspective for a second. Whatever perspective that is, challenge it. Challenge it. I want to talk about transcendence. Excuse me. Transcendence. We cannot fly on our own. However, we can watch our world from a from a bird's eye view. You ever just go on a YouTube channel and you can type this in and you can see this. This is pretty cool. But you'll get a different perspective on life, a different view, right? We see the same view every day because we're just on a platform, an area. Go to a different height. Look at big things. I know when I fly, I really love looking at the different colors of the sky. And what this does, it helps you build different areas of information that build into your subconscious and kind of paint a bigger picture for you. Now, I talked about a treehouse treehouse earlier. I've seen many of these cool tree houses even when I was walking. Not something you could live in, but just playing in. Many kids, don't they always ask their parents to help them build a tree house? What if, like, in that tree house, like, kids get a hideout in it, they can find themselves less worrying and really have fun. Maybe build a tree house, you know? Maybe build a tree house. You know, happiness also, if you don't have a spiritual quenching of your hunger, you are going to lack happiness. You are going to be full of anxiety, you're going to be full of worry. If you are not daily involving yourself in scripture, you are not going to be happy. You're going to worry a lot. You're going to be angst. You're going to be full of areas that are taking your happiness away. Happiness and sadness follow each other naturally. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't seek ways to be happy. I'm not saying that, but I'm just giving you some tactical ways that you can celebrate every single day, every little occasion full of joy. One of the smallest joys that I love slow mornings. I love being able to have later client calls, enjoy my Zoa energy drink, which is right here. No plug, no promoting whatsoever, maybe. But I just love his products, rock, and maybe one day they'll allow me to be a sponsor. Because here are the true reasons I want you to be joyful and how to be joyful, most importantly. Having your best friends and loved ones around. That brings joy, that brings comfort. I was just recently doing an exercise with one of my clients, and we are discussing the wheel of life. And if you haven't done that exercise, it's a pretty important exercise to do. So it's basically putting areas in which you're really high on, and then really areas that need improvement. And one of the areas my client talked about was that their social life was low. They went on to continue to talk, and their social life wasn't low. It just needed to be framed in a different perspective because you're around your best friends, you're around your loved ones. And here's the other side. Learn to enjoy being alone. Learn to enjoy your own company and find those little things that you do joyful. And the other part of joy is really being monumental in celebrating and celebrate the things that happen in your journey. Small are important. And when you can do that and then interpret or incorporate gratitude on top of that, we all celebrate birthdays, right? I celebrate birthdays. Birthdays are big in the Hicks household, but do those moments with loved ones, and you're gonna find, and even maybe it's wedding anniversaries, right? Those are glorious feelings of joy. And you can make your own reason to enjoy yourself in your own company. When was the last time you did that? Like, man, I love like last night, literally. I was by myself, but I enjoyed my time. And we don't need external attributes. Even though dancing and music does help to bring out joy, the media, I'm going to tell you right now that are listening, the media will not bring you joy. Stay away from the media. But I want you to find a way to engage in some type of communal joy when you can actually dance and you can sing. I don't often, but once in a while we do these fun TikTok dance videos, and it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of joy. And if my daughter finds joy, my family finds joy, individual happiness grows tenfold when people generate and share pleasure. Remember that. I want to talk about renewal for a second. As sad as it is, joy is not ceaseless. As with any source of energy, it can deplete with time. You still can replenish it though. And here's the secret. It lies in the joy pattern. You're like, Michael, what does that mean? Well, think of joy as a sequence of waves. All right, you with me? One time it comes in and pushes you upward, right? How many of you been in the ocean and you have that feeling? And when it pushes you upward, it fills you with a positive vibe. And the other day, there may be no waves at all. Maybe the water's calm. So you learn how to seek big waves. And even more importantly, you got to be able to create them, y'all. That's why I talked about playfulness. Being playful is amazing. And seek joy. Here's the key point here. Seek joy as an engine of progress. And don't be shy about performing something because you enjoy it. Don't ever be embarrassed about that. So you're like, Michael, how can I seek these big waves? Well, simple joy comes from our inner will to persist and expand. With more life comes more happiness. And think about this. Think about growing like a flower or painting a mural or just enjoy touching a piece of literature, maybe small acts of kindness or something to start like a chain reaction that really transforms your mood and outlook. Because here's the thing, without joy, you're just surviving and you're not truly thriving. That's finally where you should be. When was the last time you experienced joy? And how did you experience? So, as I wrap up the podcast today, you may have already understood joy and that it revolves around you and the enriches of your life. Usually hidden from plain view, it can manifest itself in various forms and shapes, and all you have to do, listeners out there, high achievers, is just open your heart. Let your inner child out. Have fun. Let people look at you and reconnect with the beauty of this beautiful world. Get a different perspective on what I talked about. Because happiness in this world is there. Remember that you can make a difference even in a big world. And you can bring back the joy that you've been looking for. And the regeneration lesson here is you have to learn that big things can come from the little beginnings. A lot of my clients say I can't see anything. I don't even know where to go. And my first response is, can you see your first step? They're like, yes. I said that's a great first step moving forward and building momentum. A single pencil stroke turns into a masterpiece, y'all. A seed planted, which I'm about to do here because I'm going to have a garden this summer. But a single seed planted in the ground results into a beautiful fruit, a beautiful vegetable, or even a tree. A simple hi can give a start to fruitful relationships. I do that as often as I can. Good morning. Hello. Hello. Good morning. I may not get anything to respond, but that's important. And it's up to you to be brave enough to take the first step to discovering happiness and joy. As I exit the podcast today in this episode, if you really truly like Framing New Heights podcast and it's been resonating with you, if you could kindly send it to 5 other friends, give us a review, would love that. Appreciate it. Or maybe a topic request, maybe something I can help you with. As you go about your next week, I want you to think about these things on how you can implement joy back into your life. Who are the people who make you the happiness? And I would write this down, put this in your journal. And when was the last time you met with them? Q and Ted, I love them. I played ball with them for years. I am really looking forward to. I go up to see them in July. They're on the Hudson River, and I absolutely enjoy it. I spend like a Thursday through Sunday. I go see them. We hang out. And here's the other thing. To what extent does your workplace encourage or courage, happiness? Ask yourself that question. So it may be time to reflect upon the next move. Describe the kinds of things you do that make you happy. What makes you happy? For me, it's being with my family, it's being with my girlfriend, it's working out. That really makes me happy. And how can you do them more often? Journaling makes me happy. And the last piece here, where do you go when you want to relax? Do you have a spot? Do you have an area? I know where mine is. I have I have a my basement is kind of like the entertainment area, and my living room is kind of like a chill zone. My daughter loves hanging up there. I'd rather be down in the entertainment area, but that's a different story. But where do you go if you want to relax? And if you don't have such a place, explore maybe your city for a place. Maybe it's that mural. Maybe it's when sunflowers are out. Maybe that's the place. As always, my name is Michael Hicks. I am your host, 1% Better in Mind, Body, and Soul. And always stay flexed.